In USA Today earlier this week, there was a report that revealed that Deion Sanders, head coach of Colorado, made 0 off-campus visits during his first year as Colorado coach. The report then compared him with Jim Harbaugh, who made 145 off-campus visits, and Steve Sarkisian, who had 128. Dave Ubben over at The Athletic always does a great job of covering the Buffs and giving us some good insight on Coach Prime's program. He had a story up, which included Deion Sanders' quote when he took issue with this. Deion Sanders says, my approach is totally different than many coaches. I'm a businessman as well. So I try to save our university money every darn chance I get. For me to go, let's say I go to Florida and I'm visiting IMG. You don't think those coaches are going to be a little upset if I don't come to the school down the street? You don't think it's going to be pandemonium or I'm going to get naysayed if I don't go another 45 minutes? Then if I go to that one, what if I didn't come to that school? Now that coach is mad and he's not going to let the kid come because I chose that school over that school. Other coaches, they can do that, but I can't.
Oh, there's a lot more. There's like a 3-minute answer from him where he talks about saving the school money. You know, speaking of being a businessman, he wants to save the budget by not traveling, not hitting the road recruiting, instead having all the players come to him in Boulder, which I'm not a financial wizard, but it's expensive to fly those players and their families. So, and I get you're probably flying private, which is expensive. It's not cheap, but like bang for your buck. Trust me, it would be cheaper for him to fly private and make that trip around the state of Florida. 2 days. You could hit Florida and Georgia. You could probably hit 10 to 15 schools in each state just if you had your day lined up, structured the way that coaches do it. This is astoundingly honest because he's basically saying, I don't want to do that. And yes. I guarantee a lot of coaches wouldn't want to do it. Yeah. And he does have the advantage of being Coach Prime. So he's right on that. And the other thing that's refreshingly honest is he's just basically admitting what we've been telling our listeners the whole time is that he is just in it for the short-term fix. I mean, he's in it every year. He said, this is about the portal. And he continued and he talked about the portal and how in the portal, you don't, and
players.
Yeah. And he's right. In the portal, you don't have to do any of these, he sounds like these worthless time wasting visits in homes to meet their families. Why would I do that when in the portal I can just buy them? It is, and he's right. It is more transactional. But if I'm a Colorado fan or an administrator, I'm concerned by these because I guess maybe they're not because they've embraced he's doing it different than anybody else has. This is clearly that. But the short-term aspect of this, what would concern me, because I know Bud's alluded to it, like how long is Deion in it for? This does not tell you any indication that Deion is in it for the long haul. It is a quick fix. How can I win now? How can I put the best players around Shedeur and Silo? Because there is no, I don't even want to say long-term, like midterm plan other than win now this season, which I think is incredibly short-sighted.
Do you believe?
I do love that what it boils down to, like he could talk about being the businessman, it's whatever, saving the school money, whatever. I am way too important and popular to go around visiting with these coaches and their families. And if I give one coach the chance to meet me, the other coaches are going to be jealous that they didn't get the chance to meet me.
Yeah, I mean, that's right in
and
line.
I get it. I don't think he's wrong. I just think it's hilarious that this is kind of it's one of the strange dichotomy of hiring Deion Sanders to be your football coach, because it is like an Instagram kind of social media type of hire, in that this is a really great way to boost your brand as a program and get your name out there, because he's bigger than the program. And I don't know long-term, like you're saying, like his approach, it's not long-term. I don't know if this hire is long-term, but Colorado did get saved from the Pac-12 and it did land a new home. So maybe for them, it's already mission accomplished and everything after that's just gravy.
I'm like the Beatles. I can't go anywhere. I cause mass hysteria, pandemonium. Okay. Y'all come see me. That's what y'all come see me. I'll be on the roof. All right. So
Also, I want to point out, hold on. You remember the 30 for 30 on Deion? Like doing the two-way when he was playing both, football and baseball.
I don't know if I
Yeah,
ever
flying the helicopter from the Braves to Falcons. Yeah.
And where did he shoot his interviews for that documentary? In a hangar, sitting in front of a private jet. So he seems to be okay with flying private jets all over the country. It's just he doesn't want to go visit coaches or families.
Would you buy, and this is a stretch, and you mentioned in front of the private jet. Would you buy the health? I'm not like, I don't want to.
I would have rather heard, hey, I had to have toes amputated. I can't be flying all around.
Yes.
If I'm like, again, and I'm trying to put my mind in a Deion backer, like a Colorado fan, I would have rather heard that there are health concerns, which would have been valid, I would guess.
Blood clots,
your altitude, that messes with you. I would have rather heard that than this one. I also think this significantly hurts his chances of getting another job. Like if he wanted to go to the SEC, if he wanted to come back to Florida State, if he wanted to go to Florida, like wherever, I think that this would be one of the first questions I would have for him is, what's your approach to recruiting? Are you going to continue this transfer portal only? I also like it feels like he doesn't want to put in the work because he doesn't have to, because I don't think he's bigger star than Nick Saban, but he's clearly not a better coach. But Saban's star is pretty bright. Like, I mean, he didn't have to get into those living rooms either, although he did. Harbaugh's up there where he's pretty famous. He was an NFL player too, wasn't a Hall of Famer, but he could do that. But there is still a relational component that I think has to be there for the type of players you would want. And you need to develop those relationships. When you go down this incredibly transactional only avenue, which is the one he's taking, I think it leaves you vulnerable to what happened last year, which is a major collapse once you face adversity. Like there's not those deep bonds that really do form from relationships when you go all transaction.
Yeah. And it might work long term. It's just there's very little evidence to support the idea that this approach works long term.
Mm-hmm. And we'll see.
Right. And if it works, if it does, like let's say they go 9-3.
Everybody does it. If it works.
Well, not only everybody does it, but then it does, like maybe that brings him back to the table to a higher profile job or a team that would say, I want to lure him away. But until he does that, I mean, the thing, and Florida State, Mike Norvell got the program headed back in the right direction by being extremely aggressive in the transfer portal, but he did not ignore recruiting. Like it was clearly the approach was we're going to focus on the portal. And their recruiting classes weren't top 15, but they were top 25. It wasn't like you just said, nope, I'm good. Like, so there has to be on a roster, there has to be some structure to all the things that we've talked about. Like, how do you kind of stagger guys so you can have replacements? And football's a complex game, not only from the timing and rhythm of quarterback, receiver, offensive line continuity, but also just schematically learning all the different concepts. That takes time, and oftentimes, if you pull in some of these portal guys after the spring window, they only have one camp to get on the same page. That presents an incredible challenge to any coach, let alone one that, again, is working in both new offensive and defensive coordinators.
Yep. But the big question will be what happens at the end of this season, because Shedeur is going to go pro, and we're going to wonder, all right, is the job done? Like, is the job to get Shedeur drafted? Okay.
Also, does Deion want to coach in the NFL? Like that to me is probably like he's coached his kids at every spot, like all the way from like grade school, all the way to high school to college at 2 different spots. Does he want to, and I mean, it would be the least surprising thing ever if Shedeur positions himself in a place where he's a top 5, top 10 pick, that Deion doesn't try to, and Shedeur together don't try to orchestrate that. Hey, I'm not going anywhere unless I'm playing for my dad. Like that wouldn't be surprising at all. And again, it would be unprecedented, but everything he's done has been unprecedented.